En el marco de Blizzcon pudimos charlar con el director de producción de Blizzard, Chacko, Sonny, que nos contó acerca de Moira y de cómo se llevan a cabo los procesos creativos del contenido que llega al shooter.
She's Irish, so she is based in Dublin and Oasis. She has connections to both those areas, and she was a scientist for Overwatch, specifically their Blackwatch division. And more recently, she has partnered with patrons of her science from Talon. And so, whereas most of the scientists that were with Overwatch previously were sort of more interested in building things out of technology and sort of very aware of the impact of that on the people who use it, Moira, maybe I think the best way to express this, was not constrained by the ethical restraints of experimentation on humanity. And so she's very much into it just for the science of it. So we're really excited to have her both as an addition to the gameplay as a support healer, but also as a really interesting addition to the lore of the game. Whenever there's hero development, there's always a lot of exploration around what the right look and what the right feel for the character is. And we're really grateful that the art book gave us an opportunity to show all that stuff to people, because it shows sort of the development process along the way. And so in the process of developing new heroes, we'll go through all kinds of iterations and ideas around that. Michael's the writer, and Arnold Sang is the artist, the assistant art director on the game. And they work very closely with a guy named Jeff Goodman, who's the lead hero designer on the game. And it's really a confluence of all three of those areas of discipline, thinking about what the game needs or wants, what we want in the game from a gameplay perspective. They were looking at all of the different archetypes of support characters they had. They had an angel, they had a monk, and they had the most upbeat DJ you've ever seen. And this was a chance to have somebody who was a little bit darker, a little bit with a more of a alternate side to the healing. In addition to that, there is this biotic grasp where she can draw life energy from people. The design of those heroes are often things that maybe have been percolating for a while, ideas that have been generated based on either cores of ideas that people had a long time ago, or based on the way that the game is evolving. People thinking about kind of what does the game actually need. In addition to sort of a targeted, directed sort of consideration of what the game needs and sort of what were the most promising prototypes that were in place before, there's this element of energy and sort of what the team kind of rallies around, what they think is the most engaging. And obviously there's the sort of the more, I want to say more operational considerations, like what will it take to build that hero? Everything from the cost from when I say cost means time and the amount of effort and the complexity involved in building a particular hero. So it's all of those things come together to determine what is the right next hero for us to actually work on.
Continuamos con la entrevista a Chacko Sonny, donde nos contará cómo se ingenió el equipo de Overwatch para darle una continuidad argumental a un juego que no se apoya en su historia.
We don't think of Overwatch as not necessarily having a storyline. There is a narrative that is being unveiled through a series of methods that are different than a traditional narrative single-player story game. We love the idea that people know what Talon is, and people know what Blackwatch is, and people understand the relationship between these characters, not solely through non-interactive sequences in the game, but because they read the comic books, or they see little bits of information about those characters in game, or they hear voice lines when you load up the lobby and you're sitting there waiting for a mission to start. So we feel like the lore and the narrative is conveyed in all of the different parts of the franchise, and really the animated shorts are just one part of that. But as you saw today with Reinhardt's cinematic, the lore that is told in those cinematic pieces is incredible, and they add such depth and weight and a level of emotion and engagement with those characters that's difficult to do just with a series of voice lines in the game. So we rely on all parts of that to build that narrative. And then it's up to those incredibly talented partners that we have in divisions like story and franchise development and creative development at Blizzard to take the core of the ideas that Michael and Jeff have and then build those out even further into an incredibly epic visual masterpiece, visual audio effects, all of those different pieces that get people even more engaged and affiliated with those characters. The context for Blizzard World is very much that in the world of Overwatch, these Blizzard franchises exist. They are universes and sort of almost like, you know, a popular theme park in our world is sort of a franchise, and Overwatch characters are fans of those franchises. Best example that I could give would be Diva played StarCraft with her dad, right? So those are franchises in those worlds. So in that respect, I think it is very much, there's a separation between the Overwatch characters and those franchises.